And then I'll get this thing going. Thanks for joining us tonight, Britt.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
So the coaches series, we did this in the summer. It's just an opportunity for anybody that wants to chat with our varsity head coaches to kind of speak with them one-on-one. One of the things we're doing this time is I've kind of pulled the 10 questions that a lot of the recruits in the summer asked our coaches. So I'm going to go through those questions. Just they'll kind of outline a lot of things in terms of practices, academics, athletic therapy. It touches on quite a lot. But before we get started, is there anything in particular that you wanted to ask Heather?
I don't have any questions right now, but maybe towards the end I'll think of some.
So I'll start with you, Heather, with the first question. Maybe some of these will spur something in Brit if she wants to ask anything further. So the first question on our list for our coaches series is just kind of in a normal season, say everything we're able to get back to how we run things in September, what a typical week is like for your team. So say starting from a Monday to saying you have a game day on a Saturday.
Well, typically we're going to practice every night. So we usually have 2-hour blocks of practices. We have Mondays, we are always fortunate that we are allowed to go during the day because we do try to get we like to be in the full gym where it's a little quieter. So Mondays we were in the gym. Tuesday nights, we always went really late. So we went from 9 to 10:30. 2 reasons. Again, we'd be in the big gym and be quiet. And the other reason was there are more and more classes that are being offered in the evenings. So people are in class 4 to 6, 5 to 7, that type of thing. So by going later in the evening, we could assure that everybody would be at practice. Wednesdays, we would go 7 to 9, Thursdays 5 to 7, and then depending when our games were. So for example, we played a lot of Friday night games over the last little while. So we would play on Friday night and game time is at 6. We always play double headers with the men. So we play at 6, they play at 8. If we were to travel, then we would leave enough time to get to wherever we were headed. Obviously, if we're in Centennial, Seneca, George Brown, it's a pretty easy travel into Toronto. But sometimes we're going to Ottawa to play Algonquin, or we're going to St. Lawrence to play Kingston, and we would have to leave a little more travel time. So sometimes that means on Fridays working through your academic schedule, making sure that you know what our schedule is, which you would. Like we would make sure you knew ahead of time and your profs knew.
Okay, and then just kind of piggybacking off that one to the next question is how your practices typically run. So from the beginning when your athletes get there and they might have to see AT all the way to anything you guys do at the end.
Typically a 2-hour practice. If you need to see athletic therapy, we ask that you try to get there earlier. Our athletic therapists are always great. There's a little satellite athletic therapy area right near where our team room is, which we'll talk about in a minute. But there's a place where you can go get taped or whatever it is that you need to do ahead of time. So we like you to be there so that you can be taped and ready to go at the prescribed time. So if we're starting at 7 o'clock, for example, you would try to get there by 6:30. And like I said, our athletic therapists over the years have been great. They're always there, they're ready to go, and they usually know who they're treating for what, like whether it's a sprained ankle or whatever it is that we're looking into. Practice starts, if we start at 7 o'clock, usually everybody's in the gym by about 10 to 7 or so. And that's gossip time. So that's our time to kind of connect. People could complain about whatever's going on in whatever class or the mark they got in a particular course or, what the weather's like outside or how awful it was to drive to the gym that day. Like all that, or girl stuff. And so we typically spend, that first few minutes just chatting. Then we'll do a warm up and then we do some stretching and then we get into the meat of the practice, which usually involves, what a typical basketball practice looks like with running drills and shooting drills and teaching and then, whatever offense we're running. So, that's what we do. Over the last number of years, I've been fortunate to have 3 assistant coaches, which also helps because then we can break down drills and people can go to baskets with a coach. So it's not 1 on 12. Instead, it's, working with 3 or 4 people. So it gives you a little bit more individual attention.
And then next, just talking about the facilities. So you mentioned the team room, so you can kind of explain how that works for the team, and then the gyms that are available, our study hall space, and then if you want to touch on ETS at all.
Sure. We're very fortunate. We have a team room that's a really good size, has a shower, and everybody has their own little stall. So a lot of our players over the years, and only our team can go in there. So over the years, a lot of times players will go in between classes just to chill out. We had a couch in there for a while. Somebody had a bed in there for a while, but it just meant that you could go in and just do nothing. Or sometimes people go in there and study. Like, if I went in there just whenever, I could see somebody in there with their books out and studying because it was between classes. Maybe they had a test or something coming up. But it's a great facility. We use it during games. Like, we bring everybody in and we have our pre-game. Then we'll go in there at halftime and talk about what's going on in the game. And then obviously after the game, we would get in there as well. So it's a great facility. Our gym floors have just been redone this past year. They look great. As I mentioned, we do like to practice as often as possible on our big court, which gives us the opportunity to run our presses and press breaks under real live situations. We do have athletic therapists. Our athletic therapists are, like I said, are tremendous. Like, we've been very fortunate. Not only do we have usually somebody from the university, the Ontario Tech, new name, Ontario Tech University, but oftentimes, or this last number of years, we've had somebody from Sheridan College, who are people that are in athletic therapy, who are getting ready to go out and do that as their career. So that's been great.
Yeah, that's probably one of the bonuses too of the DC varsity teams, is that every team is combined with 2 student trainers. So sometimes we'll be hosting tournaments and schools will be coming and they don't have anybody. So our student trainers are there to assist anybody when they need it. But the fact that 2 trainers are with the team, embedded with you throughout the entirety of the year, they're at practices, they travel with you to away games, to tournaments, they're part of the team pretty much. And then on top of that, just having our full athletic therapy clinic, which is run by Allison and Saul, and Jess helps out sometimes too. So those are the athletic therapists that oversee all of them as well. So that's definitely a huge advantage of our teams.
Yeah, the girls like to go in for those ice baths every once in a while, which
All the
I don't know,
athletes love
man.
the
Those ice baths don't really appeal to me, but anyway, they do like them.
And then our health center on top of that, the varsity athletes, I believe last year they had 35 openings per week where varsity athletes could sign up for massage therapy. And then the health clinic offers chiropractic. They just added a sport medicine doctor that comes in once a week. And they also have mental health doctors there as well. So lots of supports. In terms of study hall or ETS, anything there, Heather?
This past year, since we haven't been practicing, obviously, under normal circumstances, the girls started seeing the ETS people. So they've been going in twice a week and working out with the people from the ETS. And so they've been doing a lot of strength training and, working through anything that they needed to work on that they felt they were lacking. So whether it was strength or fitness or whatever, so they've been working with them. Good program. The guys have been great, or the girls have been great that are working with our players, and hopefully it's going to pay off. And that's something that we could use, especially next year in the off season, or like as we move through the summer. Hopefully we'll be back to normal, and that's something that people could start to do to get ready to play in September, and then they could help us throughout the year with any needs that we have.
Yeah, ETS is the strength and conditioning program at Durham College. There's the big workout gym, which is open to all students as long as they have a student card and the student number. But at the same time, there's a satellite space for ETS that's specific for varsity athletes. So as a varsity athlete, you can book time in there. I believe it's usually somewhere between 5 or 10 athletes they can have in there at once. And it's almost like having a personal trainer. So the trainer in there right now, his name is Manny. He does a great job of trying to make programs specific to sport. So whatever specifically the athletes need to work on is what they look and trying to build. And as Heather mentioned, right now, athletes are still able to train with ETS, even with all of the closures. So they're able to get in there and still do some personalized training. And then just on top of that too, in our campus recreation and wellness center where the gym is and your team room and everything like that, there is also study hall space specific to varsity athletes. So if you have a break in between classes or anything like that, you need to get some work done, there's a space for you to go to specifically that has couches and desks and stuff like that. But that is only available to either Durham College or Ontario Tech athletes. Have any questions, Britt, before we continue on?
Not right now. You guys seem to be answering everything I have.
Perfect. Take notes. We touched on athletic therapy already quite a little bit, so I think we'll just jump over that one. And Heather, if you want to kind of explain if a conflict comes up with academics, what a student athlete can do, and any suggestions you have in terms of balancing athletics and varsity sport.
Academics always comes first. I know that that isn't necessarily true at all places, but I know that at our place it is true. If you have a class, so for example, if you had a class while we were during our practice time, because obviously we really can't coordinate everybody. If you have a class comes first. So you would go to class and then either come in when you can, or for some of our athletes, we were able to run a couple of times during the week where people could come in and we would just do a workout, even if it was only 1 or 2 people. So we keep them up to speed on what was going on with the team. It's really important when you are playing on a varsity team to make sure that your professors know that you are on a team, and we do have a form that you can fill out and give to them, and you can give them your game dates, tournament dates, practice times. Like, you can let them know exactly what is happening. And it's the same as high school. You know that if you're going to be away for a game, if you just walk up the day of the game and go, "Hey, I'm leaving," teachers usually not too happy about that. So it's the same as high school. Let people know ahead of time, and usually we have no problems. I've had to proctor tests. There's been a couple times where we had to proctor a test where, the prof wanted the test done and we were going somewhere. So we just got it done. That's usually more if we're at a tournament, so that we're away for an extended period of time. So that comes first. My thing, and I'm sure you know this because I know you play a lot of sports, time management becomes huge. And so the further on you go academically, the more important it becomes to be able to manage going to class, getting homework done or assignments, handing in tests, making sure everything's ready to go, plus being able to meet the demands of your practice schedule and game schedule. So time management's huge. I know you also play lacrosse, so I know that you've probably had to do that with all the sports at high school and then lacrosse as well. So you would have to be able to manage time. So I'm assuming you can do that already, but it's critical when you get to college level.
Yeah, and I think Heather already touched on it too. Just the biggest tip that I've heard from all of these sessions is just from the very beginning, letting your teachers know that you are a varsity athlete, providing them with that form. And the biggest thing is providing them with a schedule. The great thing about sports is that you will already know your schedule for the entire year. That's made in the summer. That's available to you. You can show it to the teacher after they might give out their syllabus at the beginning of the year and say, "Hey, I know we have a test scheduled for this day, but our team is leaving for Ottawa." You're telling them this month, 3 weeks in advance of when it is, so they can usually figure something out, work around it. The faculty at Durham is usually pretty understanding. And on top of that, our academic support officer, Mike Duggan, does a great job of coordinating with all the different faculties. If anything comes up, he's usually pretty good at working with them. And then at the same time, he also keeps an eye on all of our students' grades. So if at any point somebody looks like they're struggling, that's when they're able to step in and provide additional academic supports, whether it might be peer tutoring, whether it might be mandatory time in the varsity study hall, or it can be scheduling some time in with SALS, which is our Student Academic Learning Services, where they have additional supports. So academics definitely very important, as Heather already touched on, and very important to just have that relationship and that communication with your teachers from the very beginning.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you're a student athlete. So at the end of the day, you want to have something that you've gone to college to get so that you will have a job. And then hopefully the connections you're going to make through playing basketball are going to help you to implement that the two are going to work together. So that's the goal. The goal is to, at the end of the day, to have we've been really, really fortunate that the girls that have played on our basketball team have been very successful in their academics. They've done well and in a variety of programs. Like we've hit on just about everything and people have done really well. We've never had problems with professors, but I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that they're in class. Because you know yourself, if you're in class and you have to do something, but if the professor goes, I don't know, who is that person? I've never seen them. It does become a bit of an issue. So, but we've been fortunate. We haven't run into that problem.
Moving on from there, talking more about specifically what athletes can work on. What's one thing athletically or specific to your sport that an athlete can do leading up to that year they head to college? For example, their senior year of high school, what's one thing they should focus on athletically if they want to prepare to play post-secondary sports?
Typically, I would say it'd be nice if you were playing basketball. Hopefully, like I'm hopeful that at some point in time, if we do get the opportunity, we'll be able to bring you on campus. And we have a couple other recruits as well, but we hopefully bring you on campus and we could start playing a little bit or at least doing some drills or things like that relative to basketball prior to, you know, anything else happening. Other than that, I mean, obviously, to me, a great attitude is paramount. You come in, you want to work hard, you have a great attitude, you're going to do what we ask you to do. The rest of it is just going to fall into place. So, and, you know, I mean, obviously you'd like to be fit, so you want to be doing something. So, but to me, like, you want to defend, like how many people come in and they just don't want to do, like they want to score baskets and they don't want to do anything else. But to me, the most important thing is that you want to play and you want to play at both ends of the floor and you're willing to learn and get better. And I think that's most important. And you know what, from what I've heard about you, because you did go to Austin, I've heard wonderful things about you. I've heard what a great athlete, what a great person you are, and you're coachable. And I've heard so many good things about you, Britt. You can't believe it. So you never know, right? You never know who knows who.
True. And defense is definitely key. Like Heather, watching your team's defense last year, it was, I think, #1 in the province last year. Like East, West, doesn't matter. You guys were pretty stifling defense. Full court.
Yeah, we played full court man. I had a little pit bull up at the front. You know how Kyle Lowry plays?
Yeah.
You've seen the Raptors, you know Kyle Lowry. Well, Sierra, who is our point guard, plays like that. She's just like a little pit bull up at the front. And so with everybody else, you know, then everybody else just has to get up and kind of support her. Yeah, we were pretty good.
Rolling along into the next one, Heather, when you do have a chance to go out and watch high school athletes play, or maybe it's a university student that's looking at doing a post-grad or anything like that, when you do have a chance to go out there and watch them play, what is it specifically you're looking for when you're scouting them?
Again, I'm looking to see how hard you're working on the floor, and I'm looking to see how you interact with your teammates. And much as it may sound ridiculous, but when you're off the floor and you're on the bench, how are you acting? Like, what are you positive? Are you supporting your team? I mean, those are the kinds of things, the intangibles that it's pretty easy to see who scores baskets. I mean, that's easy. But to me, that's only one part of the game. I mean, you can score great, but if you're not a good teammate, then that's a problem. So to me, the most important thing is being a member of the team, working hard as a teammate, and that positive attitude that I've talked about. I mean, everybody has shot the ball, missed. I mean, so you shoot it and miss. What do? So get back on defense, hustle, try to get the ball back, whatever. Or do you stand there feeling sorry for yourself? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's huge.
And then for any club players that might come out to one of your games, or any high school players, or like I mentioned, it's a university or college student that's kind of interested in coming to DC after graduation, what is one thing that stands out about your teams when they come and watch our women's basketball teams play?
I think, Jordan, you already alluded to part of it was our defense. And with that becomes, it's a team defense and it's team offense. And I think that one thing that if you were watching us over the last couple of years, and especially last year, you could see that the team, they genuinely like each other and they genuinely support each other. And on a girls team in particular, that's paramount, because girls can be girls. So if you can play like a team and interact like a team and everybody realizes we're all headed to the same goal, I think that's what you would see if you saw us play. And you could see them, you know, high-fiving or laughing, and when something would happen, you can see that, and it's pretty evident when they're playing.
It's a long season too for the women's basketball, starting all the way from your tryouts and exhibition. Can you just kind of talk through kind of the start of the season and when in the calendar year players might be coming in and starting for tryouts and tournaments and all of that?
We try to get going as soon as possible when school starts. So sometimes we're able to go in the summer once a week. So if you were in the Durham region, living in the Durham region, we could go once a week. And so people would come out and get a chance just to play, but that would just be pickup. Usually by the end of August or early September, definitely after Labor Day, we would begin tryouts and then start with all of our team interactions and like, let's get our team picked and let's get moving. A year ago, we went out to Halifax, played 3 games in Halifax, and then this is our tournament. So tournaments are typically in your preseason. So we were in Halifax, then we went up to North Bay and played a couple of universities up there. So just to get a different look of who we were going to play, we were in Hamilton. So we had a number of exhibition games and preseason games, and those games are just to kind of get everything going and get us moving and, you know, kind of get everybody gelled a little bit. And then the season typically will start around the 2nd or 3rd week of October. We go through till the 1st week of December. Then we take a Christmas break. After Christmas, last year we went to Niagara after Christmas. The year before that we were in Montreal. And then the season starts up again in January. And January we go through till the end of February, and then it's playoffs and then our championships. So we tell everybody, and we've said this for years, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. So the season tends to be, it's a long haul. So it's mentally tough, emotionally tough. So we do try to build in things during our season to try to make it a little bit different at times. So that's been our rule of thumb. Like, we'll have a Christmas party and, you know, we do that kind of stuff. We usually do.
Avoid the monotony.
Yeah, it's just something different. And then, you know, we'll come to practice and we'll do something goofy for a practice. Like, we won't play basketball. We'll do something else just to kind of get everybody together, do something and get your mind off basketball. So, you know, but it's a long haul. Like, you get into November and you're thinking, okay. But then all of a sudden, and then what usually happens, our normal schedule is that we play everybody once in the first semester, so up until Christmas, and then we play that same team. We play them on the opposite. If we were at home, we go away, and then we play them again in the second semester. So we play everybody twice, but home and away. So we go to Ottawa, then they come to us. So there's usually a little bit of, there's some rivalry going on with some of the teams, you know.
I was just going to say, can you touch on the atmosphere of some of the home games and what it's like?
Yeah, we've had some interesting home games. Well, and we've had some interesting games on the road too. But for a while, Centennial seemed to be our biggest rival because they were closest to us. But recently, it hasn't been as big of rivalry. They were actually really nice to us last year and allowed us to use their gym when we didn't have one. So, and we know the coaches from Centennial really well. So that rivalry has it's a little bit more of a friendly rivalry now. Can't say the same thing about Algonquin though. No, can't. Not so friendly. A little bit of a rivalry going on, but we'll get them.
I always hear all the basketball players complaining about the Centennial rims.
Oh, they're the double rims, right? Centennial has double rims. Can you believe that? In a college, they have a double rim. So it's tough.
Oh my God.
And then the last of our questions here, just any final tips you have for somebody that's interested in playing collegiate athletics, interested in doing varsity sport at the next level here?
Just make sure you do your research. The guidance counselor in me is going to come out here now. So you're looking to see what program you want to go into. Again, it's like anything else. You're going to go in and you're going to see, do I really like this or not? So there's going to be times where you go into something and you get a few weeks in and you go, oh my God, this is awful. It's not the end of the world. So you can go into a program and you can switch over as long as you stay academically eligible, you can switch over in January. But do your homework on what kind of program you want to go into. What are the prerequisites? What does the course demand? And you can get that by asking the people that are at the college taking those programs, or if you know somebody, or reach out to us and we'll see, I can let you know, okay, we had this player that did that program. She can tell you exactly what goes on, but do your research so that you do know what you're getting into. Same thing, we've made a connection now, so at least we've had an opportunity to talk, and it's important. I think that's important too. Like now that you kind of know who I am and I know who you are, I think that's really important too. Like we've had people, last year we had somebody come to one of our games who we didn't know from Adam, and she came in and she watched our game and she watched us play and she was watching the interaction on the bench and she was doing all that kind of stuff. And after the game, she just came up and introduced herself and said, I'm really interested in playing basketball. I've played in the past, but I've been going to games and just watching to see what you look like, what your team looks like. And I think I would enjoy playing here. I think I would really like it. It was great. So, but we're not playing this year. She's doing once a week.
But that connection was made. So that's the big thing there.
Yeah.
So that kind of runs through the list of questions we typically have. Britt, is there anything else that you might have in terms of questions about academic programs or studying or specific to the basketball teams or just Durham College athletics?
Like, what would be the cutoff rank for like a percentage or GPA in like to play basketball? Like, do you have to have a certain percent to play and stuff? Like, what is that cutoff?
Once you're at Durham College at Christmas time, they want you to have a 2.0, which is 60%. There's a little bit of flex in there, but they want you to, the college wants you to maintain a 2.0, which is, like I said, a 60%.
Okay.
Yeah, typically for any of our athletic scholarship athletes, they'll be required to maintain at least a 2.5. And in terms of our academic support, if somebody does fall under a 2.0, that's when they kind of get flagged. And that's when our academic support officer, Mike Duggan, will step in to try and find a way to assist and help them. If they fall under a 1.5, then that's when they'll be temporarily suspended from team activities. But
okay.
Yeah, 60% average is the minimum GPA that they're looking for athletes to keep.
Remember too, coming from high school, there's certain programs or certain classes you have to take. So this is what I think the big difference is between college, from high school to college or university. So coming up, when you're in high school, you have to take English and math. If to have a social science. You've got to have, you've got to have all these courses. Some of the courses you're going to really enjoy and you're going to like, and you're going to want to be involved in and do the homework, and you're going to love the course. There's other courses that you're going, oh my good Lord, why do I have to take this? But you have to, because you got to get your high school diploma. When you get to college, you now are making a choice. Like, I don't want to do this anymore, whatever it is. Maybe it's writing history essays, or maybe it's writing English essays. So you're going into a program that now you don't have to do that anymore. Like, I was talking to Saul, who's our athletic therapist, and we were talking about doing courses, and he was mentioning that he had to do a calculus course online and how awful it was. And so at the end of the day, he said, so I did this calculus course, and he said, I absolutely hated it. I've never done calculus since. What good did it do me? So, and that's kind of something you have to keep in mind, that you're going to be taking stuff that you like. So academically, you're probably going to do a little better because you're taking stuff that you enjoy.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of time too, like Heather keeps touching on. Just because you're in one thing, it doesn't mean it has to be that thing for the rest of all time. I know from my own personal experience, after my first year of university, I switched programs. And then after university, I went to college, I went to DC and did the sport management program. So there's plenty of time to kind of find where you want to go. And it wasn't until I got into the sport management program that I was like, okay, I think I found where I want to go. It doesn't necessarily need to be right off the hop. If you're interested in trades, like you mentioned, one of the programs that quite a few of our student athletes, at least, have taken in their first year is the trade fundamentals program. It just kind of gives you an overview of all of it. And then from there, whichever aspect of it you enjoyed is when you can kind of branch out, whether it was welding, whether it was elevating devices, whether it was machining, whichever area of those kind of fundamentals that you enjoyed. After that, you can get into carpentry. There's lots of options there in terms of if that's the direction you're going. And at the same way, I've had friends that attended Durham College. One of them was on the women's basketball team, Alicia Del Fuoco, who she did the ECE program, so the early childhood education program, and then she also did the sport management program after that because she kind of wanted to do both and see which direction she wanted to go. So there's lots of options, that's for sure.
And she's an Austin grad.
Oh, really?
Yep.
There you go.
She played basketball for me when she was at Austin, and then played basketball for me when she was at Durham. So it's kind of cool.
Anything else?
We have Kendra Oliver, who was on our team this past year, did the trade fundamentals. So if you want any kind of information, I mean, she'd be more than happy to tell you about the course and what she did and how she liked it or what she didn't like, and she'd be a great resource.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions there, Britt?
I think I'm good. You
Yeah?
guys pretty much answer all of them, which is good.
Well, if anything comes up, be sure to email or connect with Heather.
Yes, of course.
Thanks for joining us tonight. Thanks, Heather, for jumping on for this too.
You must live pretty close to me.
Me?
Yep.
Oh, really?
Yep. You must. Because I live right by Austin.
Oh, okay.
You would walk to work in the morning? Is that what would happen?
I could walk to work in the morning.
Oh.
And there were times where I had to walk to work in the morning because one of my children would have my car.
And then there was times that she was running away from Austin at the end of the day. Let's get out of here. Okay, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brett.